Hello, everyone. We're about to record a show. Here we go.
I've decided to show my support for the Daily Tech News Show.
Well, how could this have been done?
Simple. All I did was go to patreon.com/acedetect and pledge $1 a month. Hey, it's only $1 for some awesome content. Value for value, right? Go ahead and take it away, Tom.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, October 19th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, as she does most Mondays, Ms. Veronica Belmont, DTNS contributor and host of Dear Veronica on Engadget. How you been, V?
I'm great. How are you, Tom?
I am good. We are joined today by a very exciting guest, Mr. Josh Clark, senior writer at HowStuffWorks.com and co-host of the podcast Stuff You Should Know. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
Tom, thank you for having me.
We are going to talk about turning your trash into power, which sounds a little bit like a self-help book, but that's not what it is at all, is it, Josh?
No, it's not. It's exactly what it sounds like if you think it's not like a self-help book.
There you go.
If you take it at face value, it's right there.
Although you could conceivably not burn, but you could turn trashed self-help books into this power.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You could get a
Tom,
lot of power from that.
I've always said this show is becoming increasingly trashy. So
Yeah.
This is just proof of that.
That's how we make it more powerful, Veronica.
Oh, of course.
Of course. All right, we're going to get to that in a bit, but let's start with some headlines. Xiaomi announced the Mi TV 3 because they like to rhyme in English. It's a 60-inch 4K display with a detachable sound bar that contains speakers, as you might expect, but also a processor, storage, and running the MIUI software. So it's kind of like a cross between a sound bar and a Roku. The bar can be purchased separately for RMB 999 if you're in China. The full package with the TV runs 4,999 RMB. That's about $800 US, both coming to China. Xiaomi's portfolio company Ninebot also announced its first product since it acquired Segway back in April. The Ninebot Mini is a scooter without a handle. It can be controlled by movements in your legs or by an app on your phone. It can travel 22 kilometers on a charge, up to 16 kilometers an hour, and will be available for 1,999 RMB. Both products are coming to China November 3rd. I like this idea of a detachable thing so that you could just upgrade your TV's processor without having to get a whole new TV.
Yeah, I love that because just being able to have some sort of control over electronics in that way, like that's not something we can typically do. If you want to upgrade your TV, the way you do that is you buy a new TV.
Yeah.
So didn't Samsung have something called like the Evolution Pack that supposedly you could just put onto the back of your TV?
Yeah, exactly. That was just for the internals. So this is like halfway between that and a full-on Yamaha soundbar packed together with a Roku, I guess.
Exactly. And the prices keep shocking me at first, and then I see the dollar amount after that. I'm like, well, that's quite reasonable, actually.
Not so bad. Yeah. I love this next story. Facebook announced it'll start sending users banner notifications if the company suspects state-sponsored attackers have targeted their account. In a Blogspot post, Facebook claims government-sponsored attacks tend to be more advanced and dangerous and warrant notification. Facebook stresses the notification does not mean the site itself has been compromised, and they really don't say what you're supposed to do if you see that banner. They say that you should secure your accounts, but I'm not sure how much they actually get into how you go about doing that.
Yeah, they say turn on they say turn on login notifications, which sends a code to your phone anytime you log in. It's a two-factor authentication type of thing. But I guess if you have that on already,
this is happening to you. Good luck with that. We just want to let you know that there's a state-sponsored attack happening on your account right now. We can't really do anything about it. We're not compromised. You might be.
Maybe they can gamify it and you can collect badges. Like, I was hacked by Estonia, Russia. The big one's China.
Yeah, and there's a difference for like, well, the IP address was China, so I only got a bronze badge versus like, no, we definitely confirmed it was from China. Yeah. Apple's App Store has removed apps after analytics service SourceDNA found 256 applications were using private APIs to collect user information like email addresses, the parts of your device's serial numbers, and a list of installed apps. Chinese app developers were using an SDK from a Chinese ad company called Yumi, and according to SourceDNA, Yumi tested obfuscation techniques slowly to see just what they could sneak through Apple's app review process. Flying Spatula, spsheridan, and starfuryzeta all submitted a version of this story on the subreddit.
Wow.
So it is interesting how they were able to get this approval through the App Store process because the SDK didn't look like it was doing anything bad at first.
So now it was we've had bad Xcode downloads previously, and now we're getting bad SDK. This is things are getting a little interesting over there in the Apple App Store world.
Yeah, it got popular, right? When things get popular, people start trying to poke holes in it.
In more Apple news, MacRumors reports Apple will replace Retina displays on MacBook and MacBook Pros whose anti-reflective coating is wearing away or delaminating. Affected customers will need to schedule a Genius Bar appointment or visit an Apple-authorized service provider to see if they qualify. Eligible customers have 3 years from the date of purchase or 1 year from October 16th, 2015, whichever is longer, to get the fix. Customers that have already paid for out-of-warranty repair may be eligible for a refund through Apple Care Support. Sources tell MacRumors Apple does not plan to announce the program publicly.
Why?
So that's funny.
Like, this whole story sounds perfectly fine up until you get to the part where they're like, oh, we're not going to ever admit this.
I know, I was like, oh, this is nice. It's a good thing that they're doing this. It's good that they're getting the word out. No, they're somehow, leaking it through MacRumors or various other press outlets who are figuring it out. That's weird. It's a weird thing to do.
Do they still test the hardware for, like, nicotine or something like that and then just reject it outright?
For nicotine?
Yeah, didn't Apple used to do that? If you send in your MacBook or anything like that for service, they would test it for nicotine, and if they found any traces that you have been smoking around it, they sent it back and said, nope, you just voided your warranty.
Right,
Wow,
there was the
I didn't know
water
that.
spot detector, too.
That's what I knew about. The
Yeah.
water spot detector actually
I
makes
forgot
sense.
about the nicotine thing. That's
But
awesome.
the nicotine one I had
brought it
never
back.
heard of.
Google for Work said on Monday it will cover the fees for a Google Apps subscription for enterprise clients who have pre-existing enterprise agreements with a competitor. Google said it will also help out with deployment costs of up to $25 per user. Of course, once the competitor's contract runs out, regular Google app rates will apply. Plans available for companies in the US and Canada, but Google hopes to bring it to other countries. So they're aggressively trying to ease the cost of transitioning from IBM, Microsoft, etc., to using Google for Work.
Seems like a good incentive.
Yeah, pay for stuff. That'll incentivize people. And Google says they claim that you would get a 70% reduction in costs on an ongoing basis as well because they're priced better, et cetera, et cetera.
Savings.
Come on down to Google's crazy enterprise.
Captain Kipper sent us the news that the trial is over and Amazon is now going to charge its promised $299 a year for Amazon Fresh grocery delivery service. That fee gets you a standard Amazon Prime subscription as well as free delivery on orders more than $50. For comparison, Engadget points out rival Instacart offers an annual subscription for $99 a year and free delivery for orders over $35, putting Amazon in the unfamiliar position of being the more expensive option out there on the market. Now, of course, Instacart doesn't come with free Amazon Prime, which is obviously a huge draw, but I'm kind of shocked about that. I was looking forward to trying this, but $300 a year. I mean, I got in on the 99 Amazon Prime level, so this is not a huge incentivizer for me. I think I'll stick with Instacart for my lazy shopping days.
If I'm paying for something like this and then I have to pay a delivery fee on top of that,
Yes.
like that, I would first of all, to order enough that I'd have to pay a $50 delivery fee seems kind of crazy. And then to say, oh, but you're also spending $300 a year, I just don't see myself ever wanting to do this. And I live in Los Angeles where no one wants to drive. Delivery is important.
Frankly, Instacart has had some flack in the past for raising prices on items in the stores that they were shopping to get an additional margin on those. But now they notify you which stores are prices as is. So you can go in and say, oh, I like to shop at this Whole Foods. Okay, this Whole Foods, the prices are the same on Instacart as they are if I went into the store. Not all stores are going to be like that. I don't yet know if Amazon is doing a similar thing, if they're adding an additional fee on top of the delivery charge and on top of the $299 a year subscription fee. So we'll see. I don't know that. Yeah.
They have to cover their costs on all that superfluous packaging and shipping stuff that they use unnecessarily. I guess that explains it for me.
But they're driving up in a truck.
They already own the infrastructure, though. Like the weird thing is, do they really need to charge this much? They already have drivers out there. They're already doing deliveries every day. Yes, they have to actually get the people to go in and do the shopping, though I don't know what their setup there is. They may be doing a Google Express thing where they have groceries in a centralized location. I don't know what their infrastructure looks like for grocery shopping.
Yeah, I would guess they have some sort of warehouse or something like that. I mean, like if they're going to the store, surely they're not. Like I would guess they're buying groceries en masse and then just distributing them as needed, right?
Yeah, I think they're web vanning it.
Instacart does not do that. You think they're doing it that way?
Yeah, I think Amazon has a centralized location for most of these items. They're not doing the going around and shopping thing. So, but still, like.
So for me, that makes me feel like the price should be less.
Right, exactly.
Instacart, I know there are human beings going to the store, buying the items, and texting me if they can't find what they need, and letting me know. I don't know if there's going to be that same level of service. Yes, I use Instacart occasionally. I buy the same stuff all the time. I don't need to browse.
You can discover products from local shops and restaurants, so you can. They do have some shoppers going out. Just double check that. All right. Well, okay. Just $299 though, really?
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of cabbage.
You get the Prime stuff. You get the free shipping on all Amazon products and the shows and the music and all the stuff.
Well, someday they'll deliver it by drone, and then it'll be worth it. But until then, the U.S. Department of Transportation and the U.S. FAA are still working on creating a task force to develop streamlined registration processes for some consumer drones. That's right, folks. You may have to register your drone with the United States government. The group will also determine which aircraft, like toys or small drones, that should be exempt due to low safety risk. Recommendations are due November 20th from that task force. Have you registered your drone?
I don't have a drone, or do I?
Or do
I'm
you?
I'm droneless as well.
What's that, Josh?
I'm droneless as well. Although, the moment someone fired a gun using a drone, I'm fine with the government requiring people to register their drones from that point on.
Well, there's a backdoor Second Amendment issue, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think because of the problems that they've had near airports and near wildfires here in California particularly, like the idea of coming up with some kind of system like this isn't a horrible idea, and we shouldn't jump all over them right at the beginning of the task force. Let's see how they end up defining it. But I know a lot of people who just fly drones in parks recreationally and behave themselves will definitely chafe at the idea of, wait, I have to register my drone now? That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, especially if there's a fee for it, which I imagine there would be. Hopefully it wouldn't be exorbitant because, I mean, you make a pretty good case. There are a lot of people out there who just want to fly their drone around the park and don't have any nefarious ideas behind it.
Yeah.
Well, Lenovo got its new PC announcements out finally. The 13-inch Yoga 900 has Skylake i5 and i7 processors with up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and up to 512 gigabytes SSD. The convertible starts to ship today, starting at $1,199.99 and £1,199 in the UK. And comes in silver, orange, and gold. Lenovo has launched the Yoga Home 900. Be careful if you order one right away because the Yoga Home is a 27-inch touchscreen tabletop PC with 5th generation Core i5 and i7 processors with a 3-hour battery life. If you're not familiar, the form factor is essentially a giant tablet with a kickstand. It's available for order now for $14.99 US.
No, I ordered the Yoga 900, not the Yoga 900 Home. I don't have a home big enough for the Yoga 900 Home.
Wait, what? I'm so confused.
Like, why would you do that? Why would you name a 27-inch tablet which is, first of all, we'll talk about that separately. The same as your 13-inch tablet, or I guess it's a convertible laptop.
So 27-inch touchscreen tabletop PC is the Yoga Home 900.
Yes, they're both the Yoga 900. One just says home.
But one's the Home 900
because it's the size of a house.
Ah, yes.
That's how you remember it.
27 inches. That's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, for a desktop computer, I guess it's not ridiculously big anymore. There's iMac tops out at 27 inches and everything. But as a tablet, I mean, it's a tablet with a kickstand.
It sounds like a Microsoft Surface, basically, with a kickstand. Is that not? Remember when they first came out with it, and Bjork was making music with it, and all that.
Right, the big table version, not the little laptop convertible that's called the Surface now. I know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, the original one.
Yeah.
So if you put that and raise it up, I think that's this.
If Bjork would deliver it to my house,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
with a drone.
Yes, flying on top of a drone.
And the drone.
Finally, thanks to the dozens of you who pointed out this weekend that the 1 terabyte version of the Microsoft Surface Book became available. I had said I was considering buying one, but I wanted it to have a 1 terabyte hard drive, and now it does for a pre-order price of $3,200, shipping in 7 to 8 weeks, sometime in late January. So I'll be mortgaging my home in order to buy one of those. And that's a look at the headlines. All right, let's talk about plasma converters. Now, Josh, I'm going to let you explain it, but in brief, the way I understand it is this is something that can convert trash into various molecules that can then themselves, as gases or heat, be converted to energy. But there's no actual burning going on. Is that right?
No, it uses, plasma, first of all, is considered the fourth state of energy. It's like a gas, but it's like a kooky gas where electrons are free roaming, which means it has an electrical charge and it creates an electromagnetic field. And you can produce plasma. Well, it's basically like lightning. When lightning rips through the air around it gets superheated and turns into plasma itself. This is basically the same thing. It's like creating a little lightning torch, where you have an electrical arc running through it, and you're just pushing air through, and it superheats it to about 6,000 degrees, and all sorts of nutty stuff happens. But one thing that doesn't happen is combustion. So there's actually not burning, which is really difficult to wrap your head around when you're thinking of something that's 6,000 degrees, the temperature of the surface of the sun, but it's actually not burning. It's just deforming. It's disintegrating, basically.
Disintegrating. That makes sense.
So you get your Dr. Frankenstein lightning ray to hit the trash and disintegrate it, and then what happens?
It's pretty awesome. So trash, just like any matter, is basically a store. It's an energy store. Like, it's just locked in as potential energy. And when you expose that stuff to really, really high temperatures, it decomposes, like, just immediately. Trash will decompose over time, just given the right circumstances. This immediately decomposes it to not only its molecular level, but its elemental level. So it just turns it into carbon atoms or cadmium atoms or whatever. And it either gasifies, if it's an organic material, or it turns into what's called slag, which is this molten lava stuff that eventually turns into something like obsidian if it's inorganic. And that's it. And that gas can be used for all manner of stuff. So, for example, when you let the gas exit the chamber where you've put in the garbage and the plasma torch is running and everything's just magically happening, the gas that's escaping, it's really, really hot. So if you let it into a chamber that has a gas turbine in it, it will expand very rapidly and it will spin that turbine, and you can make that turbine generate electricity. That's phase one, right? You can also pump that gas a little further. It's still very hot even after it spun the gas turbine. And you can run it through a pool of water, turn it into steam. And you can use that steam to turn another turbine and generate more electricity. And then the syngas, this gas that escaped, is now usable for basically like, it's like natural gas. It has about half the energy impact of natural gas, but basically the same thing. So you can burn it, and then spin yet another turbine and generate even more electricity. And the beauty thing is you can use this system to power the plasma torches themselves. It's mind-bogglingly elegant and beautiful. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
And its byproduct is dragon glass?
Yes, basically. Not only dragon glass, but dragon glass you can lock radioactive material into and trap it in like a genie for thousands of years. There's nothing wrong with this technology. It's one of the greatest things we've got on Earth right now, and I don't understand why people aren't running around in the streets like just shouting plasma gasification. You know,
So
I do.
So you take your garbage, you shoot the lightning ray at it, it turns into molten lava and gas. The molten lava turns into dragon glass that stores hazardous waste safely. The other gas gives you electricity 3 ways.
Yep.
And then at the end, is there any other emission coming out?
So yeah, you would have to after you burn the syngas in the 3rd stage, you would need to capture that stuff, scrub it of any maybe heavy metals or particulates that are still in there, any carbon monoxide, anything that might still be in there that you wouldn't release in the atmosphere. You just scrub it using normal processes that are already in place for like fossil fuel powered electricity plants, and then just release it as an inert gas into the atmosphere. So again, there's like nothing wrong with this stuff at all.
So what is anybody using this, and why aren't more people, as you say, using it? Because it seems like a pretty good way to not only create energy with minimal byproducts, but also get rid of these huge landfills and barges full of garbage.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? So there's usually 2 things that are a challenge to any alternative sources of energy. Usually it's net energy input, which means that a lot of these things where you do get energy from them, you actually have to put in more than you get out, which means it's useless at this moment. It seems like plasma gasification has that one licked. The other one is expense. And that's the one that's the big challenge still to plasma gasification. It's a fairly expensive proposition to set up a plasma gasification plant, but its direct competitor is the landfill. And the landfill it's become increasingly expensive in recent years itself as the price of land, the value of land has increased. Well, buying land to dig a hole and put garbage in, that's kind of expensive as well. So if a plasma gasification plant sets up shop next to a landfill, they can actually make money on the back end by generating this electricity because they usually have enough left over to sell to the grid. And then that slag, that molten stuff that comes out of the bottom, it has all sorts of wonderful uses as well, from cleaning up oil spills to using it as insulation in houses to using it as paver stones. So they can make money after they burn the garbage, which means that they can keep their tipping fees, the cost you have to pay to drop your garbage off, lower than a landfill. So the way I put it is, if you own a landfill and someone sets up a plasma gasification plant in your town, you're probably in trouble because it also has that environmental impact as well. Like it's taking garbage and getting energy directly from it, rather than just putting it in the ground and walking away and hoping for the best, and then maybe building a subdivision over it that eventually becomes haunted, probably.
So
That is how that works.
yeah, definitely. I mean, you can burn anything in this, not just trash. You can burn ghosts. I would assume, right? Like it doesn't matter.
If ghosts existed, you could probably harvest energy by putting them through this process. Yeah, but that's one of the things. These things are a victim of their own success. Actually, there's one in Utashinai, Japan, I believe, is where it was, that actually shut down because it ran out of feedstock, which means that they ate up all the garbage in the area and it then just went offline. And it was a pilot project, to be certain, but that is a potential problem in the future for these kinds of plants, that there won't be enough garbage to take in and gasify, and they'll have to go offline periodically.
few people in the chat room are shouting about the second law of thermodynamics. This doesn't violate that because you have to have trash. You have to. It's not a perpetual motion machine because you have to keep feeding it trash, right?
That's exactly right. And again, you're just taking something that has potential energy stored in it, garbage, matter, and you're unlocking it by exposing it to these high temperatures, which weakens its molecular bonds, which lets that locked energy just go kaboom in the form of heat. So yeah, no, it doesn't violate any laws. It's actually a great application of it.
So there's something like 9 locations currently operating this. I saw one of them is a Ford-class aircraft carrier that's testing this for the U.S. Navy. Yeah,
that will hopefully be just operating by burning its own waste. And again, it's not burning; it's pyrolysis. But
consuming.
It is really difficult to talk about this and not refer to it as burning. You know.
Yeah, it's disintegrating, consuming, pyrolysizing. Yeah. It's tough. Now, one of the things I ran across, you guys have a great article at howstuffworks.com, which, by the way, written by Jonathan Strickland, a regular on the show. So we'll have that link in the show notes. But I found that 1,000 tons per day is enough for the plant to be able to power itself, so it generates enough energy to keep itself running, and then sell some power back to the grid.
Right.
So you do need a consistent supply of trash. Would we ever, if this caught on, would we get in a situation where we would not, like opposite of today, we would not have enough things coming into the landfill?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a potential challenge that these things will have to face in the future. I mean, I think there's a lot of garbage out there that you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about it, but yeah, that's a potential problem in the future. In fact, there's a proposed plant down in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and they estimate that after 18 years, they will have used up all of the incoming trash. Although I mean, there will still be more trash, but at some point they're going to have to go harvest trash from existing landfills, and within 18 years, they will have used it all up. And at that point, I don't know what they would do.
Well, fortunately, there's a never-ending supply of garbage on the internet.
Right, yes, which you could harvest tons of energy from, for sure. But I mean, that would probably raise new questions down the road. Like if this is how we were getting a significant part of our energy at some point, maybe materials designers would design materials so that they were more efficient when they were put through this process and gasified later on. So our garbage would become smarter, I guess, is a potential way around this.
I love the idea. Oh, go ahead, Veronica.
Oh, no, I was just going to say smart garbage.
Yeah, I love the idea of, I read one scenario where they put it with an existing power plant so they can take advantage of a lot of the scrubbing and systems for dealing with the inert gas that comes out of it, which reduces the cost of building the plant in the first place. But also, to me, that's kind of the stretch goal here is instead of having landfills or instead of having standalone plants built by landfills, you attach this kind of plasma converter to an existing power plant of some sort. Right. And as trash comes in, you pyrolysize it or consume it or whatever and turn it into energy. And if you don't have enough trash, then you still got another power plant working and you just keep pumping power into the grid.
And it's like a supplement to an existing, say, coal-fired power plant. So basically, you put it through the normal process, but as that gas is escaping or being piped out, you just put it into the coal-fire flue, and that like I said, it's kind of like natural gas, the syngas. So it just kind of accelerates the coal-fire zone fire, and it actually reduces the amount of coal you would have to use, thanks to, again, garbage, which is really the most elegant thing about this is something we want to get rid of anyway, and this is a way of harvesting like 70 to 80% of the energy that's locked in that stuff that we want to get rid of, rather than letting it decompose and go to waste, literally go to waste.
So you can consume anything in this because it's not burning it. It's just disintegrating it. So medical waste, human waste, is there anything it can't do?
So supposedly there is some kinds of radioactive material that could be very dangerous to do, but I believe that you can typically treat a lot of radioactive waste, not necessarily all. And then that statistic you gave about 1,000 tons where you would have enough to power 1,000 tons per day of municipal waste is enough to not only power the plant, but also sell some back to the grid. Out of that 1,000 tons, you would get something like 20 tons of stuff that was still very hazardous, because there are elements that pose a threat to us, like cadmium and mercury and fluorine and stuff like that, that would be there in its purest elemental form. Highly dangerous. So we would still have some waste, but that's like 2% of all of this other stuff that we got all this great energy from. But for the most part, anything you put through will be rendered to its elemental form. And if you have a swine flu outbreak or something like that, this will render all of that stuff inert. Just about any toxic waste, it will render it inert, and you don't have this dangerous stuff any longer. But it seems to be that highly radioactive material is the biggest challenge to it. Everything else, just toss it in there, see what happens.
Yeah. That's crazy. We'd have to decide to recycle things on purpose that we didn't want to be disintegrated.
Exactly.
Well, this is fantastic, and this is just a sample of the sort of wonderful things you get from the Stuff You Should Know podcast, as well as the kind of articles you can find at howstuffworks.com. Josh, this is fantastic. We're going to get to some emails before we go, but thank you for explaining that to us.
Thank you. This is fun. You can tell I'm really psyched about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's a cool technology, and the chat room's full of questions about this. I would ask you to direct them to howstuffworks.com because Josh is the guy who's been looking into this. But no, it's not a perpetual motion machine because you have to keep fueling it with trash, and you could put it by a landfill, but eventually, even with people continuing to bring stuff to the landfill, you might run out. You might be but consuming trash faster than people can bring it in.
Exactly, but it could also be a really great bridge fuel to get from fossil fuels to completely renewable fuel sources as well. It could help tremendously.
Yeah. All right, our pick of the day comes from Tony, who says, how you doing? I know you've received a few picks for Star Wars Minute, but let me follow it up with the Goodfellas Minute. The concept is the same. The panel analyzes the Goodfellas movie in its entirety, title, screens, credits, and all, minute by minute. The gentlemen behind the mics are from iFanboy, Josh Flanagan, Connor Kilpatrick, and Ron Richards. You can check it out at goodfellasminute.com, and they've had Star Wars Minute hosts Alex Robinson and Pete on, and this week, I'm on it. So you might want to check it out despite that. Goodfellasminute.com. You can catch up pretty quickly. They're only, I think, 20-some minutes in at this point, and we're at the good part. We're at the scene everybody knows from Goodfellas. I was lucky enough to get in on it at that point. But it's a really fun project. And Ron and Connor and Josh are fantastic as well. So go check it out, goodfellasminute.com. Send your picks to us, feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. A couple emails before we get out of here. First of all, Andrew on Twitter pointed out that Microsoft also has a second factor method app. The Microsoft Account app for Android lets you accept a verification code instead of type it out. It's far from the best app name, he says, but the screenshot shows how the accepting function works. So it's similar to what Yahoo's doing with Yahoo Mail.
Microsoft has a boring name for a product. I'm shocked.
I know, right? And then finally, Mike in Wow, It Got Cold Fast. I hope it doesn't snow on Halloween, Chicago. Hey, at least you're in the playoffs. He says he's an academic researcher, and they used photon counting X-ray detectors in their medical image lab. He wanted to share a couple of thoughts on the photon counting light sensor that was discussed on last Wednesday's show. First, photon counting sensors don't get rid of all the noise. There's only reducing the noise that comes from the sensor electronics. There's still noise from the variability of when photons arrive at the sensor. These sensors will only be able to eliminate the electronic noise. To get rid of the quantum noise, you need to bend the laws of physics, which they haven't figured out yet. Second, he says, don't expect these sensors to perform well in bright conditions. To get a good image, the sensor elements need to be read out at a rate greater than the rate at which the photons are coming in. And if it can't keep up, it'll start to count multiple photons as a single event. Sensor elements that get a lot of light and sensor elements that got a little light are counted as the same amount of light. This reduces contrast in your image. For example, they appear washed out. He says, we struggled with this problem at my last job, and I would expect it to be even more challenging with visible light imaging. That said, I think this type of device will be great in low light only applications, but it probably won't appear in consumer products like DSLRs or cell phones. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us, Mike. Definitely something that even when we were talking about on the show, they were saying would probably be in academic situations to begin with. So we'll include the entire email from Mike in the show notes at dailytechnewsshow.com. And that's it for the show. If you want to follow Josh, go check out twitter.com/Josh_UM_Clark. That's Josh Clark. And of course, follow the Stuff You Should Know podcast, twitter.com/SYSK podcast, stuffyoushouldknow.com/podcast if you want to go subscribe there. Anything to tell folks about what's coming up, Josh?
We are talking about actually plasma gasification very soon, so this is a bit of a teaser for that. Let's see, I can't remember the other one. We always have tons of good stuff, like a lot of science stuff, a lot of pop culture stuff. So if this floated your boat at all, or even if it didn't, there's probably a Stuff You Should Know episode that you would love. So go check it out. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got more questions, shoot them to Josh, and they'll probably be addressing them in that upcoming episode on this sort of thing.
Yeah, and you can also reach us by email at stuffpodcast@howstuffworks.com if you have something longer than 140 characters as far as questions go.
Veronica Belmont, as always, engadget.com/dear-Veronica. You can follow her on Twitter, twitter.com/Veronica. What's going on with you?
Good question. No, just busy week, regular stuff. New episodes of Dear Veronica every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
That's noon Eastern, perfect for your lunch break.
Indeed.
On the Eastern Seaboard. Well, thank you, folks, for joining us. Thank you to all the folks who make the show possible. We work on the value for value model as popularized by Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak on the No Agenda podcast. If you get value out of the show, would you be willing to give some value back? Head over to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Big thanks to everybody who already does. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was an awesome show.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
And Josh, we stay streaming while I edit, but don't hang around unless you absolutely want to. You're free to go. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me. If you ever would like me to be on again, I would be very happy to, because this was a very fun time. So thank you.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have you back. Let's talk.
Right on. All right. Good luck.
All right.
See you.
Cheers.
Bye.
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 What are we going to do for titles?
Well, I have some thoughts.
You too.
We've got Xiaomi the soundbar,
Of course.
Mr. Plasma, One Man's Trash is Another Man's Power, which I really like. Come on down to Google's Crazy Enterprise. Was Crazy Eddie outside of New York?
I don't know if he actually was, or if we just all knew about him because of Saturday Night Live.
Okay, because I was like, that is such a New York joke. I was like, who lived in New York? All right, so we have Bad STK, No Biscuit. Ban assault drones. Oh boy, maybe not.
Let's not get political.
Yeah, Daily Tech Trash Show.
I like my particular submission. This show is trashy.
Nice.
Very nice.
I
and all the things. I think
I
it's
wrote
good,
trash
too.
talking about stuff you should know.
That's good. You can burn ghosts. I do like Dragon Glass.
That was a good call on the Dragon Glass.
Yeah.
I was
And of
trying to
course-
think of the most extreme way to describe this, and that was perfect.
There's also that plasma, though.
That plasma, though.
That plasma dough.
And the future is trash. I kind of like that.
Wheels.
I can't decide, guys.
Smart garbage.
That was another one I
Smarbage.
did. Smarbage.
Smarbage.
Alright, I better give you some time.
I liked Beatmaster's Plasma is so hot right now.
Yeah, that is good.
I laughed at that at the time. I saw that pop up.
I didn't see that
like
one. Good
it.
job, Beatmaster.
I like that one. I like a world in which, in the future, people are actually.
Someone's calling me. I think it's the
Okay.
the vet. One sec.
I like a world where people are actually fighting to pay you the most for your trash.
For your trash, right?
That's my
Trash
favorite.
scarcity. We didn't even get
Yeah.
into that side of things. That's amazing.
And just like all of a sudden, my trash is more valuable than your trash, and like it's just great.
Can you imagine if your trash collection bill was issued by you?
Yeah,
Like you got
Yeah.
your trash collection payment?
yeah, that'd
Every
be
month?
pretty cool. And then I was thinking, like, what would be the movie application? It was like people accidentally falling into the plasmificator, and becoming stuck in dragon glass.
It's awful.
Well, you missed my erudite point, which was I forget, but it was trash scarcity, the idea of being paid for your trash.
Yeah.
But then I went one step further to the Hollywood movie version of it.
I'm making so much money off my trash these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's. I mean,
actually-
it sure gives me hope that like we can solve this problem.
If
Like,
you
it's kind
think
of amazing to
about,
think about trash being gone.
I think I'm about to write a movie in the post show. If you think about who currently is most manipulating the trash crime syndicates, right? Like it's often the mafia that has like trash services under their wing. I think plasmification would have some uses for the illegal mafia too.
I don't know what you mean. There's no such thing as a mafia.
You're right. You're absolutely correct.
That's a reference to Goodfellas.
Well, you would know.
One man's trash is another man's power. That's what
Yeah.
I'm going.
I think
I'm
that's
going
a
with
good
that.
one. I'm going to start a Reddit thread with my plasmification movie and see what happens. Maybe I'll sell
Plasmification.
a movie by the end of today.
The hoarders are going to be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
They are.
Actually, they won't because they still won't want to get rid of their stuff.
Yeah.
That's true.
My
Maybe it'll take an
garage.
incentive to fix hoarding.
You're sitting on a gold mine, Grandpa.
Yeah. Problem solved. This solves every problem, basically.
So many problems solved.
So many problems.
We start having shortages on plastics and stuff because we've still run out of oil and everyone burned all their trash for power.
Well, if they could break everything back down into base elements that they can reconstitute, like kind of like the replicators from Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. If you could start to sift the elements out and then recombine them, that's the next step.
Yeah.
You know, I've always wondered why they don't just replicate a person. I mean,
Too complex. There's one, I don't remember which episode. I'm not quite that geeky about it, but there is an episode where they discuss that in relation to the transporters, particularly.
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
is
you
it
have to.
so-
It has to be talked about. Got to talk about what would happen if you tried to replicate a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Be covered.
Why not? They've done it though. They did it with Commander Riker, and they gave him slightly.
No,
more-
they took an actual human being's pattern and split it in two, Roger. It's different.
Well,
They didn't create it from nothing.
The pattern's kept in a pattern buffer. Why don't you just
Right.
use that?
It's a lot easier to say I can create a pattern from nothing than to do it.
Yeah.
You and your legs.
TVZ Gun is worried about the plasmification and its effects on our neighbors, darn hipsters. That was one thing I wanted to get into and I forgot was like, so we can't do this in our house, right?
I think could they make like little tiny
Probably not yet.
Like a
plasmification?
trash compactor. Guy?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Just a miniature plasma torch underneath your sink.
It'd be really hot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think you'd be anywhere near it when it's running.
And of course, you'd have to protect it from the kids.
Or not. Be like,
It's not you, Marty.
dangerous.
It's your kids.
Something's got to be done about your kids.
I still find he's such a. It's so weird where you find him in other movies. Like, wait a minute, that's just Doc Brown.
I just watched Star Trek 3 last night.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't come off as. He just comes off as Doc Brown playing a Klingon.
In the center of a dead
We've
planet.
got to go back to the future and stop the Federation.
Let's slip the dogs of war. That's him,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
No,
No, that's 6.
That's 6. Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry.
and
Roy Havoc.
that was supposed to have Sadik originally as the traitor.
Oh, but they were like, no.
He's like, oh, you can't take a well-established character and make him a villain.
Go get that unknown actress Kim Cattrall and shave off most of her hair.
Is that what they did?
Yeah, Kim Cattrall's like, she has like a Vulcan like hardcore bob, and then her side where lady's hair would gently come down is all shaved, so it looks like she's wearing a mo wig. And talking about sabot.
That's where I always think of that.
Yeah.
Saboteurs.
In control.
Sabotage.
Samantha.
Yeah. Okay, so now Netflix it plans to offer. I was out, so I'm reading all the old news.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah, I'm
like, what?
like,
Don't
well,
tell me
no.
Netflix announced another thing.
No. They're negotiating for Star Wars and want to offer news. They want
Yeah,
tech-
the news thing was them saying
Yeah.
very poorly using the word news because they just
Yeah.
mean docs, I think.
All right.
Like more current docs than the ones that they've had in the past. More Vice-like stuff, I think.
Vice.
And Vice is like, everybody just keeps imitating us.
Oh my
All right, I'm gonna hit the road, Jack.
Okay, fine.
Have a good day.
You too, guys. I'll see you later. Catch you on the flip side.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Semi-times. No.
Semi-times. One man's trash is another man's power.
Trash is another man's empire. Trash empire.
Yeah, I got to go write up notes about all the freaking Netflix things they said last week.
Mm-hmm.
Too many. Too many. That thing about credit cards, I still think is silly. I still think I've had a few people try to explain why it might be true, and they're definitely valid and fair attempts, but I remain unconvinced. I think what they did was very clever. They said, in part, our drop in subscriptions is related to the chip and pin thing. And I'm sure in part it is. But that can't possibly account for the majority of it. Most people, when you got a new chip and pin card, had the same number.
Yeah, mine was the same number.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bunch of hooey, actually.
Yeah. I think they may have had some involuntary churn.
Right.
In other words, people just, their card number changed or their expiration date went out, and then they didn't bother to re-up, and it would probably caught them by surprise how many people that happened to, maybe. But I don't think it has to do with chips.
Well, I mean, it didn't happen to us.
Because mostly what it means is people weren't using the service, and when their credit card stopped being valid, they didn't notice.
Right. Interesting. Though those chip and pin cards, I don't think we've seen the full wave of chip and pin card problem because most of the places where my chip card goes still don't have their things set up and activated.
Oh yeah, yes.
That's the coming wave.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But totally true.
And retail is still surprised half the time when they see it.
Because the deadline was just that the chip cards have to be issued,
Right.
and that anybody who doesn't take them is now taking the liability on themselves.
Right.
But you're right. Like tons of places are just like, well, I guess we'll take the liability on ourselves.
Yeah. All right, so over under on seeing Luke in this trailer.
No,
We're not, right? Yeah.
he's not in the poster.
Yep.
He's not in any of the trailers, and I don't think that'll change today, although it could be wrong. I think this is setting us up for a big revelation about Luke.
Yeah.
That they can't show him. Like, there's that leaked picture of him dressed up like Obi-Wan, right?
Yeah.
That got out. I think that's not representative of who he is in the movie. So like maybe he turned dark. There's some crazy theory out there that he's Kylo Ren, and that's why Driver is being so circumspect about answering questions. And that Driver actually is I don't know. I don't know. But there's something going on with Luke that we do not expect.
Yep. Oh man.
It can be one of those water cooler movies.
I think people will be talking about it, yes. Please, I've gone into full producer mode for just the tickets. Like, I've not produced this much, this intensely in one day since, like, 2006. Unless you count the Buzz Out Loud reunion.
Which I think you should.
Well, even that wasn't as intense as the Star Wars ticket situation.
I'm just waiting until the Canadian elections are over before I decide.
What is the deal with the Canadian elections?
Oh, no, it's today.
Oh, but like, why is that important to your life?
Yeah.
No answer.
I'm just curious to see who wins, and they'll determine whether or not I watch the movie right away or not.
Which movie? The Canadian election movie?
No, Star Wars.
What?
Wait, the Canadian election decides whether you watch Star Wars right away or not?
Yes.
Why?
No reason.
Roger, you need to get out the house. Walk around a little bit.
What's on my lap?
Take the baby for a walk. Can you do
I
that?
have. She doesn't
All right.
like the leash as much as your dogs.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
Well, that's it for us. Bye, everybody. I'll see you on Cord Killers later today and on DTNS tomorrow.